Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, boys. I hope everybody is doing well, inshallah. Everybody is doing good. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Khalid, and good morning, Ibn Samad. Today, we will be continuing the session with the blood. Good morning, Malik. So, and Ahmed as well, good morning to you. So, we will be starting today with the topic of the blood. I believe we didn't study this part, or did we? Anybody would like to remind me that you were able to finish this presentation on blood? What is blood made up of, and what are the different types? You're going to look into the red blood cells first of all. Yes, of the summit.
No, yes, we did the red blood types and we did the phagocytes, lymphocytes, and platelets, but we still didn't do plasma.
Okay, so did we do this presentation as well?
I don't think we finished it.
I'm talking about the presentation. Yes, we learned. You're right. We learned about the red blood cells and the white blood cells. Yes, we were on the white blood cells, and we discussed lightly about the platelets, and then we'll move on. So, plasma is actually, we'll go to the plasma section as well, but plasma is like water extracted out of the blood, where we separate all the blood cells, and we will be getting only the liquid. It looks pale yellow color, and it has salts and some of the important hormones and all these things. So, all right, thank you, Abdul Samad. Let's start.
You're welcome.
Would you like to read this slide? Oh, he muted himself. Okay, that means we can give it to somebody else. Who would like to read this slide? Okay, Muhammad is raising a hand. Yes, Muhammad.
Hello, Mr.
Yes.
Okay. Title. The title is Blood. Learning objectives. What is blood? Understanding where it is in the human body and its functions. What is blood made up of? Different types of cells in blood, their functions and properties. Keywords. Pulse, blood, white blood cells, red blood cells.
Okay, hold on. Can you see the screen with the introduction of blood?
Yeah.
Can you please read this?
Okay.
Thank you.
Introduction of blood. Apart color red. Observe under microscope and blood appears to be of pale yellow color. There are many cells in blood. The blood appears red due to the presence of red blood cells floating in blood. Red blood cell, white blood cell,
Platelet.
platelet, plasma. This is what human blood looks like under the microscope.
All right, good. And the last sentence.
The white blood cells have been stained with a dye to make it easier to see them.
All right, good job. So we are looking at the red blood cells. They are of color red, right? Apparently, he says the blood will appear to you red because of the red blood cells. And if we observe them under the microscope, we will see that the blood is actually yellow color. That is called plasma. And with the red blood cells, it apparently looks like red. So this is the picture under the microscope. You'll find that the red blood cells are in a huge number as compared to the white blood cells. And then we have special plate-like structures. We call them platelets. Uh, they are very useful for us, and we're going to study about them one by one. So let's go to the next slide, and this is how the plasma looks like, the blood plasma. And we see that if we keep the blood in a test tube, and then we put it into a machine for centrifuging, it rotates in a circular way. What it happens is it separates the heavy particles on the bottom and then the lighter particles, and the lightest on the top. So dense particles are on the bottom, which are the red blood cells. Then we have only 1%, which is making the white blood cells and platelets. So 45% is your red blood cells, about less than 1% is white blood cells, and then the 55% is the liquid, which is making the blood called plasma. So they contain the sugars and the salts and all these kinds of things, right? They would have hormones, so which is regulating the body, the lymphocytes, and all the rest of the things, which are smaller than the red blood cells and they're lighter. So that's why it stays on top. Okay, so this is how your blood looks like. Now, who would like to read this for me? Let's see. Khalid is raising a hand. Yes, Khalid.
Red blood cells. Most cells in the blood are red blood cells. They are usually of small size. They are red due to hemoglobin. Oxygen combines with hemoglobin and makes the bright red in color. When red blood cells goes through tissues, oxygen diffuse of hemoglobin and goes into neighborhood cells, oxygenated blood. Hemoglobin becomes dull, blush, red colored deoxygenated blood.
All right, good job. So the first thing Khalid has mentioned is the most of the cells, like we saw, 45% are the red blood cells, and they're very small, usually are very small. They do not contain a nucleus. Remember about that. Red blood cells do not contain a nucleus, and they contain a special protein which we call hemoglobin. The hemoglobin has the ability to combine with the oxygen. And then if it combines with the oxygen, it becomes a very bright red color. So that's why what we call oxygenated blood. And once it loses the oxygen, it becomes dull bluish red color. That's called deoxygenated blood. So if you're looking at the picture over here, you can see that the oxygen is diffusing into the blood from the lungs. And if we see in the second program, we can see in the second picture, sorry, oxygen diffuses out of the blood into the tissues. So here's another picture. Let me just grab a pen over here and highlight this. So this is the artery. The blood is going in on the top right corner. I'm showing the picture using the picture of the top right corner. So the blood is going into the artery, and this is actually capillary now. Capillaries are so small that a red blood cell just goes one by one through it. And once they're getting in, they have high concentration of oxygen here and low concentration over here. So the oxygen starts coming out. The food coming out starts coming out. It could be glucose, it could be protein, anything that the cell needs. It's going to come out of these red blood cells. So the red blood cells have given up all the oxygen, and in once they have given out the oxygen, the carbon dioxide starts going in. The carbon dioxide will be given to the same red blood cell which was passing through from here to here, and they will become dark bluish red in color, right? So this is happening only on the basis of diffusion, which is movement of molecules from high concentration towards the lower concentration. Okay, so let's, anybody has any question, you can raise your hand. If nobody is clear. So these are the kids who just read it. So Yasin, do you want to read or you have a question? Okay, Muhammad has a question. Yes, Muhammad.
Mister, I didn't understand the word deoxygenated blood.
The word, which one?
Deoxygenated blood.
Oxygenated blood means with oxygen. Look at the diagram on the top right corner.
Yeah.
They are red in color. When they are red in color, that means they have oxygen. When they become blue in color, that means they don't have oxygen, they have carbon dioxide.
Mr. Can you repeat it again because you're lagging.
What should I do then? Okay, Khalid also has a question. Okay, I'm gonna turn off everybody's webcam so that my voice doesn't lag. Mohammed, is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, if the red blood cell has oxygen, we call it oxygenated.
Blood.
Without oxygen, it is called deoxygenated.
Okay.
All right, that's if it is with oxygen, it will look red, bright red. If it is without oxygen, it will be looking bluish color.
Okay.
All right, so boys, I'm asking you to keep your videos off because my voice might be lagging a little bit. So let's go to Nouri is just joining us now. So after Muhammad, we have Khalid raising a hand for a question. Yes, Khalid.
Yes, mister. How does the oxygenated blood change to a deoxygenated blood? Where does the oxygen go?
What is the
How does the oxygen go to how does oxygen turn into deoxygenated blood, and where does the oxygen go?
into the cells? Let me show you new whiteboard. Let me show you a whiteboard. Okay. Let me draw you this scenario. This is the artery, right?
Yes.
And let me change the color to these are the red blood cells. Red blood cells are going through, they're passing through. So what is outside the arteries over here? They are the cells of our body. Could be muscle cells, it could be brain cells. Let's say it's muscle, right? So the oxygen has to go from here to there. This is the arrow. Let me get a proper arrow. So oxygen inside the red blood cell goes into the outer cells. So the red blood cells are providing oxygen to these cells. What is going out? Oxygen. So oxygen is going out. So once the oxygen goes out, because they have high concentration in the red blood cells, to the other neighboring cells, so we can say high concentration. That means I have high amount of oxygen in the red blood cell, in the blood, right? That's why it starts moving towards where there is low concentration, so there is low amount, right? This is clear, one part.
Yes.
So looking at the second part, now over here, these cells have been respiring. What was the formula for the respiration, if you remember? Respiration is you take in the glucose that is coming from the blood, and you take in the oxygen, which is also coming from the blood, and then you produce energy, then you produce carbon dioxide, and a little bit of water as well. So this carbon dioxide, as we know, is bad for our body. And they have now over here carbon dioxide in high amount. Carbon dioxide is in high concentration. CONC stands for concentration. So now inside these cells, I have high concentration. So what is going to happen? I'm going to kick this carbon dioxide into this cell. Carbon dioxide is going to this cell, red blood cell, right? It's just like a delivery boy that he comes with the pizza to you at your door. You take the pizza and you give him the money. So the cell over here, the muscle cells are taking in the oxygen and they're providing them with the carbon dioxide. This is the exchange happening. And why the exchange is happening? Because their concentration. So once this red blood cells give the oxygen out to the muscle cells and take their carbon dioxide in, they will become blue in color. They will become deoxygenated cells. Now they will be cells like this. Let me take a blue cell. Now this high concentration is gone. Let me erase this. Let me take this away. And now they are red blood cells with dull bluish color. Imagine this is red blood cells with dull bluish color. Now they have carbon dioxide and the oxygen is gone. So this blood will be going back to the heart, and the heart will pump into the lungs so we can put back oxygen in it. Right?
Yes.
Okay, good job.
Thank you, Mr.
So Yasin has a question. Yes, Yasin.
Assalamualaikum, Mister.
Hi.
Mister, I have one question.
Yes.
Is the white blood cells, is Mister bad or good?
White blood cells are excellent for you. They
It's bad.
without them,
It's bad or good?
it's very good.
Why?
White blood cells, without white blood cells, we will not be able to live. They are protecting us from the diseases. They keep us healthy.
Okay, thank you, Mister.
You're welcome. So let's go back to the presentation. Where was the presentation? Here is it. So let's give the mic to Yasin. Yasin muted himself. So who wants to read this? Okay, I'll give the mic to Yasin again.
Assalamualaikum, Mister. White blood cells are larger in size as compared to red blood cells. They have a nucleus, defend against bacteria and viruses. Some white blood cells capture bacteria. It produces an enzyme that kills and digests the captured bacteria. Other white blood cells produce special molecules that attach the bacteria and kill them, called antibodies.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Yasin. So Yasin mentioned about white blood cells in this slide. White blood cells are bigger in size, they're larger as compared to the red blood cells. They have a nucleus. Red blood cells don't have a nucleus, and they would defend against the bacteria and viruses, which can make us sick. There are two kinds of bacteria: one which we need, which are healthy for us, and one which can make us sick. So remember, the healthy ones are not affected by the white blood cell, only the harmful ones, which can make us sick. So what do? They capture the bacteria. Once they have captured, like as you've seen in the diagram of the phagocyte, once they capture it, they would like eat it and then release the enzymes and digest the bacteria. So that's the way a bacteria dies. Other white blood cells, they produce special molecules that's going to attach to the bacteria, and we call them antibodies, so that the other kind of, our immune system would come and kill these bacteria. So they would be marked with an antibody, and then we have a force of another white blood cells, which comes and kills the bacteria. So some white blood cells take the bacteria and kill them, and some would mark them with the antibodies. Okay, so what are platelets? Who would like to read this? Platelets. Any hand? No hand. I think everybody's sleepy today. Okay, we'll give it to Abdul Samad. Yes.
Yes, Mister, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Platelets, thrombocytes. Platelets are little fragments of cells. If a blood vessel gets damaged, the platelets help the blood clot and seal the wound. Platelets produce chemicals that cause fibers to form in the blood. Red blood cells get trapped in the fibers. A photograph of a blood clot taken using an electron microscope.
All right, good job. So what the first thing was highlighted about, and platelets are little fragments of cells. They, if the blood vessels get damaged, if you get any kind of little bit of wounds or skin, then what happens? These platelets will will arrange themselves in a crisscross manner, and then even with the red blood cells are going to get caught in it, the bleeding stops. Savi is saying Mr. Yes, Mr. to you as well. So this is how the platelets look like. They will appear like a thread-like structure, and they use another protein with them that is called fibrinogen. But yes, fibrin is here. They've shown it in the diagram. So the fibrin with the platelets, they will create a crisscross pattern, and it stops the red blood cells from going out. So the bleeding stops. So let's go to the question session. We have hands. Yasin is raising a hand. Yes, Yasin.
Mister, why the platelets, mister, are very small?
So that they can stop the blood from bleeding out.
No, mister, the platelets, they is very small, more than the red blood cell.
Yes, that is true.
Why?
So that the blood doesn't bleed out. If there's any kind of damage in the body, you might lose your blood. So how can you stop the blood? So it stops the blood from going out of the body if there's any injury. It's a
Oh,
protective mechanism.
okay, thank you, mister.
Okay, you're welcome, Mercy. So let's go to Sami. He is raising a hand. Yes, Sami.
Mister, when I read about the blood this I think يعني I read about it. I seen the book. When you يعني if you have a cut anything and you bleed, you have a blood out. They fast protecting and bring white things to don't let the blood out from the body. How they fast يعني I think it is يعني make slow to do it.
Well, it depends on the cut. How big is the cut? If the cut is small, it will be fast. If the cut is big, it will be slow. Plus, your hormone system. Once you're looking at your own cut, you get scared. Some people pass out. So that is the nervous system which releases the hormones, which tells the body that yes, you have to repair yourself and stop the bleeding, because the bleeding can be very fatal, right?
Yeah.
And the blood is moving in our body very fast. One pump of the heart, yeah, like you can say, if the lungs are receiving the oxygen now, in 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, they will be back again for the new blood, for the new oxygen. So one part of your blood rotates throughout the body in 10 minutes. You can say that.
Yes, and I have another question. And the blood I see, and when I was doing the homework, I see the blood is color is yellow. How?
This is how Allah created the blood. Because of the salts and the sugars and the hormones and a little bit of lipid molecules, they look like yellowish in color.
Oh,
Okay, so the red blood looks red because the red blood cells,
yeah, but because the hemoglobin.
because of the halkalabi.
Yeah,
What is a halkalabi?
it is something يعني, when you do it, how I tell you, Mister, in the body.
I don't do it anything in my body.
Mm,
Okay, try to find
I
out how
was,
to
yeah, the word.
read it.
I will say the word and I will.
Okay, look for the word and then we will listen to it, inshallah. Okay, so, oh, he means hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin is in the red blood cells, which makes it look red. That is true. Okay, so let's go to the last part, the summary. Who would like to read the summary? Khalid, you have the mic.
Yes, mister. The summary. Blood is made up of different kinds of blood cells floating in a liquid called plasma. Red blood cells transport oxygen, White blood cells destroy invading microorganisms. Platelets help blood to clot. Plasma transports dissolved substance such as sugar.
All right, good. How would you like to, summarize in your own words?
Um, what do you mean?
How would you explain the whole thing in your own words? That what have you understood?
Um, I have understood that white blood cells destroy bacteria and stuff like that, and red blood cells they transport oxygen to other cells, and then the other cells give them carbon dioxide, and then and then play Mister. And I have one question: what is the meaning of clot?
Clot. Okay, let me show you clot. The reddish thing on your skin when you have a little cut and then the blood starts becoming dry and there's a black reddish substance on your skin. That is a
Yes.
clot. That is a clot.
Okay.
All right. So anybody has any other questions? Okay, we have one hand up. Khalid is okay. Khalid's previous. Okay. Okay, so Ahmed Abulada says no. All right, let me go to the canvas. Let me see if we have done. Okay, so what are antibodies? What are white blood cells? I'll show you a small clip on this. This is important for the for with respect with the blood. So let's check out the white blood cells. And then there's another video, but we'll try to watch these two. So let me turn on the sound. Okay.
What would life be without blood? Well, that's a silly question because we wouldn't be here. Nor would any mammals, or actually, any vertebrates in fact. It is fundamental to our survival, and so we need to know all about it. You should already know that blood consists of red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, and plasma. But if you have forgotten, watch our What is Blood video first. In this video, we're going to look at white blood cells in particular. These are our warriors, the army inside our body that protects us from infectious diseases and foreign invaders. They may only make up 1% of our blood, but my gosh, they are important. Our body has a first line of defense, which we saw in the video on body defense against pathogens. But when this fails, our white blood cells kick into action. White blood cells are the cells of our immune system. There are two types of white blood cells, phagocytes and lymphocytes. Phagocytes have a multi-loop nucleus within the cytoplasm. They are made in your bone marrow and they actively seek out to engulf bacteria. They will even squeeze out of the blood through the capillary walls to reach infected tissue. Nothing stops these cells when they are on a charge. They will often die loaded with bacteria that they have engulfed and killed. In boils and cuts, this is seen as yellow pus. There are different types of phagocytes, with neutrophils being the most common. Lymphocytes have a huge nucleus and just a little cytoplasm. They are formed in lymph nodes and are found all around the body, such as in your armpits and neck. Invading pathogens contain a chemical on their surface called antigens. The lymphocytes detect this and produce antibodies in response to it. The antibodies stick to the surface of the pathogen and kill it, either by making it easier for the phagocytes to ingest them, or making the pathogen burst, or by making the pathogens clump together, which turns them into a sticky mess and makes it easier for phagocytes to find them. Each antibody is very specific. It will only attack one type of bacteria, Other lymphocytes produce antitoxins, which combine with the invader's toxins and make them harmless. Sometimes the body cannot produce antibodies naturally or fast enough, and so we can have vaccinations to help us out. We will look at vaccinations in another video. They may only be 1% of our blood, but our white blood cells can really pack a punch. You just need to remember that phagocytes engulf pathogens, and lymphocytes produce antibodies and antitoxins.
All right, any questions about this? I thought I saw Yusuf raising a hand. No, Malik says no. Okay, Yusuf Bukhari, you have the mic.
Teacher, when
Yeah.
we will revise to the exam?
When do we what?
Revise to the exam.
The revisions are gonna be throughout the lessons as well. And like right now, we are left with 7-8 minutes. We will be revising in these last 7-8-10 minutes. So if you guys have any questions regarding to the previous lessons, you can ask now. And it's going to be more like a targeted revising. Instead of me explaining the whole session, you guys write down the questions, whatever you are confused about, and then we will discuss about it. All right? Hello? Okay, you muted. Okay, Khalid, you have the mic, and after that, Abdul Samad.
Yes, Mister. As it said in the videos, that lymphocytes and phagocytes. What happens if lymphocytes cannot kill the bacteria, and what happens if phagocytes cannot kill the bacteria too? So how does the bacteria get killed?
And you take external help, you take a vaccination.
If he did not know that he had the bacteria, how would he get help?
Khalid, if lymphocytes and if the phagocytes are not able to work, then you take a vaccination. Then you take an antibiotic medicine.
No, I mean they do work, but they couldn't defeat a certain bacteria that is powerful.
Yes, then you take antibiotics. Then you take a medicine.
How do we know that it's time to take antibiotics for the lymphocytes and phagocytes?
You will get sick. You will have high temperature. You will not be able to function properly. You will have a running stomach, for example. So you'll go to a doctor, and then he will say that, okay, your immune system is not able to properly kill the bacteria, so take a medicine.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Welcome. So Abdul Samad has a question. Yes, Abdul Samad.
Mister, in the beginning of the video, it said that only mammals and birds need the blood cells. What reptiles and amphibians?
Yes,
Do they, what?
the complex living bodies, the complex. If you look into the animal kingdom or the living kingdom, whatever we have, they start off from the one single cell. We had a Chlamydomonas, which is one single cell. Then we have some other living organisms which start living in a community. So they're like 15 cells, 40 cells, maybe 100 cells. So maybe 200. If you have this amount of cells, you can easily eat and you can excrete by diffusion. They are usually in the water. They're surrounded by the water 24/7. They cannot live outside the water. And because of the water, they do not need a circulatory system. They can simply, every cell will simply get the food through diffusion. And when it comes to send it out, the waste, they will do it through diffusion. But once we become complex, once we become, we have many cells, like we have more than 1 million cells. Now you are a complex living organism. In that scenario, you would be needing a proper circulatory system. If you look into a grasshopper, the grasshopper doesn't have a proper circulatory system. It has an open circulatory system. There are two kinds of circulatory system. One is open and one is closed. When we say closed, that means we have vessels, we have tubes going to the heart. There is going to be a heart. And then there is an open circulatory system. There is no heart, there are no vessels, and the blood just keeps on moving because the body is moving. So you're going to study about these things in a lot of, details, inshallah, but in higher classes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. It's just that we need a circulatory system because we are now unable to get the food through diffusion. Yasin says he's confused about the enzyme and the catalyst. So you have to mention, Yasin, what is the confusing part about the enzymes? I can't just go on saying about the beginning of the enzyme, that this is what they are, this is what they do, this is where they're located. So remember, there are three parts of every topic. What is the structure? What does it do? Where are they? So how it works and what it does. So enzymes, you have to, Yasin, study about this. Their job is very simple. They do chemical reactions. They make the chemical reactions go faster. They would lower the activation energy. How would they lower it? That's at the university level and high school level, grade 12, 11. But right now, just remember that they are located in every part of your body, in every cell, right? So enzymes are proteins. Their job is to do chemical reactions go faster, and they are not utilized. And then what happens to it? Anybody else would like to add up to the enzymes, whatever you guys remember? Okay, Khalid remembers something. Yes, Khalid?
Yes, Mr. I remember that most of the words that end with an
You muted yourself again. Yes, most of the words that end with
ASE is an enzyme,
per.
and the catalyst is the cat.
Again, you muted yourself. What are you doing, mister?
No, Mr. Because the book was on my keyboard.
MashaAllah.
The
Okay.
enzyme inside the elementary kernel makes these chemical reactions happen. The enzymes are not charged themselves, so they change into a catalyst. So when they so a substance that is speed up a chemical reaction, but it's not itself, is called the catalyst.
Yes, catalyst is the sound of K, like cat, C-A-T, cat. Good job, Khalid. Very good. And Abdul Samad wants to add. Yes, Abdul Samad.
I also remember that they need a certain range of pH and temperature to work properly.
Perfect. Good job. Nouri has more something to add. Yes, Nouri. Where did the Nouri go? Okay. Last
I
minute.
missed. I remember you said that enzymes make chemical reactions faster.
Good point. Anything else? That will be all. Okay, so we are done with the time for today. I'm stopping the recording.